back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Presented by the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It's been a while. Last week was off, so now the whole gang is back together again. Josh is off the road. He was in Oklahoma all last week, which you would think, okay, Josh is in Oklahoma. It should be easy. You guys are all in the same place. Do a podcast. Didn't work out that way because Josh was going to high school after high school. Eddie and Bob were out going to some high school stuff. We've had a lot of rain in Oklahoma. It's a beautiful day here in Norman. Not really. It looks like we're all about to die. But Bob assures me that it's just rain coming today. So, good deal. Good to be back with you. Josh McQuistion, how are you doing? How are you back at home? The family's happy to have you home, or they want you to go back out again?
No, they're glad to have me home. Layla's not having to, because, for those that don't know, Lainey came with me to Oklahoma. She hangs out with the grandparents while I'm up there. But Layla stays here and has to go to school at like 6 a.m. So almost every day, she is literally the first kid at school last week. So she had to live through that. And usually she rolls in with me at about 9. So a little different world for her. So I think everybody's glad. Mama didn't have to get up extra early to take her to school. Everybody's happy. I think it's good. Maybe Lainey is not as excited because, basically she hung out with her grandparents and got presents and went and did fun stuff.
Eddie and Bob joins us. And my first question to you, Josh, is how do you get away with calling it school? It's a 3-year. She's not learning anything. Is she getting any skills out of this thing?
Oh, no. And I know.
So it's not school.
No, it's school.
It's not.
No, Lainey can not quite read, but she recognizes all sorts of words and stuff. Like, she's better for having gone to that school. There's no question. And I'm not, is the bottom line it's kind of a daycare? Yeah, sure it is. But we picked it out of a whole list of schools because they have a whole educational setup and this, it's a whole thing.
Could she beat Vince Young's score on the Wonderlic?
I think there's a good chance. Now
if you're breathing, you probably can beat Vince Young's score on the Wonderlic.
I really wanted to take the IQ against Vince because of her youth, she almost automatically wins. She's going to get a higher grade because of her potential to learn. That's one of those things. I really wish I'd taken an IQ test when I was 5. And that number would be my number forever. My IQ is whatever, just because I'm so young.
Did you guys grow up with special, not special education, but advanced placement? Like when you were kids, did you go in to some building and take a test, and they decided if you were going to be in the smart classes or not?
I wish.
I don't think so.
I didn't have that.
No.
I did.
They must have politically corrected that out of the system at some point after you, Josh.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't remember ever going into. I do remember we had AP classes, but I think you just had to enroll in those. They didn't let.
You just had to have the grades.
Yeah,
if you had the grades in the regular, then you could do AP and see if you were good enough.
I was.
We just segregated in Putnam City after.
By color of skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't let any of the black kids in the AP classes. It was really weird.
Oh God. I was one of those kids.
Segment.
Oh, no, that was racist.
There is no is.
There is no if on that at all.
I was one of those kids that they started me off in the really smart school, and then they gradually phased me out. By the time I got to, I changed schools and, went to a better school that wasn't in the ghetto as much. And I think that just all the kids were smarter, and they're like, yeah, you're not our smart. You're smart there. You're not smart here.
What is Duncan smart?
Well, this was back when I was really little, so this was
elementary school?
Coffeyville, Kansas. Yeah.
Oh, God.
My worst year of academics was 4th grade. That's an unbelievable sentence to say, but it's absolutely true.
I won the entire school spelling bee as a 5th grader at the school where I was in the gifted classes, and then we moved to Duncan. Wharf.
Wharf.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Eddie, spell it.
WHARF?
Yes. Correct.
I could have won.
The 5th grade spelling bee as a 30-year-old man.
You're going down, Murdoch.
That's awesome.
Do you think 5th grade Eddie could have spelled wharf?
I I don't know. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Let's have a radio show of hands who thought Eddie was going to get that right.
I can spell.
I want to know how that won the entire
big
school.
Words.
How did that win the entire school? Like an 8th grader could spell that.
Well, there were I had to knock them out. That just was the winning word. Like I had to spell in 10A and stuff before that. And
Carey had planted words for his opponents. Theirs were like pronunciation, and he got Worf.
And then in the county, I got pasteurized, which knocked me out. And the stupid girl that I beat got helicopter. I was like, what world is this fair in? I beat her, and because she's a cute girl, she got a silly word. So pissed.
Did you get a date?
She was older, dude. I was kind of scared of her. She was very tall, too.
She wore a jean jacket, didn't she?
Yeah.
That's always intimidating.
It's just like old school.
Probably a lesbian
Smoking
now.
Marlboro Reds. So anyway, Josh, let's start with you. A lot of content on the site. A lot of reports on the Crimson Corner. What was your main takeaway from last week doing your tour of the state?
I think going around the state, I think we've known what 2020 was for a little while. It's really kind of Andrew Rame, and, you can argue about what's behind him. I didn't get a chance to see Brendan Walker, so I don't kind of want to lump him in with that.
They've had a lot of scheduling conflicts at McGinnis with all the rain and stuff.
And he's been sitting out.
Yeah, that's right. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he and
Richardson,
Dominic, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, him and Dom have played a lot of football. Like, I get it. It's reasonable.
Wonder how Gabe Eichert feels about how taking it soft on those people.
I got a feeling Kenny Young did not just let him walk on that sort of stuff. So, but anyway, but what I did see is 2021 and 2022 in Oklahoma could be really good. I think 2021 you feel pretty good about, like it's going to be a step up from 2020. Obviously Oklahoma made their first in-state offer. A.J. Green, the corner from Tulsa Union, a guy that didn't work out the day I was there. He'd injured his hamstring in state. I think it was the regional finals, if I remember right, in 6A track. But a guy, he fits what Oklahoma's looking for. He's probably 5'10", 5'11", which is a little smaller, but I mean, he is a legit 10'6", 10'7", 100-meter guy. He can really, really run. And, has put good things on tape. He is a guy that it makes a lot of sense that OU, that he was their first in-state offer. So, you look at that, and then you move to 2022, where another Tulsa area corner, Marion Horn, who I actually spoke to last night, will have a story coming here in the next day or two. Really, again, another pure speed guy, really a pure projection type guy. But I mean, like I said, I saw him. I saw Dontier Fisher at Chakota. Gentry Williams at Booker T. That 2022 group really, it's so early. We'll have to see how things develop, but at this stage, they're ahead of the previous few years.
Josh, where do you think Horn ends up in terms of position?
I think he's a corner. And speaking to him last night, that's really what the majority of the schools that have offered him. I mean, I think Baylor was the first one, then Oregon came in, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. He's got a couple others I'm going to forget. I'm pretty sure Iowa State, because they've just offered every good young player in the state of Oklahoma. But just watching him, he's kind of long, kind of lanky, doesn't really look like a running back, that has the kind of thick lower body, those kind of guys. Just because he's a BA guy, I compare him to, Devin Thomas at the same age, and there's just no comp on the way they're put together. Horn looks like a corner. And again, I mean, you talk about a guy that can really move, and, surprise, surprise, BA's really, really talented again. And I haven't even, in 2022, I didn't even mention Talon Shetron, who I think is going to be a star for Santa Fe. Yeah, exactly.
Name your kid Talon? Wow. That's impressive.
Well, and the thing is that nobody really knows yet. He's got a twin brother that is very good. That's probably going to be a DN type guy for Santa Fe, who's like 6'3", 215. So I mean,
is his name Raptor?
No, I don't think so. But I can double check, but I'm pretty sure it's not Raptor, because I think that would have stuck out to me. I think coaches would have been like, "That's Raptor," because that's all you would say.
That's way better than Walker and Texas Ranger. There's my son's Raptor and Talon.
You guys out there listening that are thinking, man, I need to get my son on Rivals. He's an 8th grader, he's a 9th grader, whatever. Legally change his name to Raptor, and I will put him on Rivals.
I think you might be starting a movement. I don't.
Some cases, he doesn't have to be a real player. Just name anything.
Okay, one time it happened, all right? And we weren't responsible.
God, our own guys are burning us down. Eddie, damn it.
Eddie will burn anything down.
So true. There's no loyalty.
It really isn't.
Not at all.
It's too bad I put your paycheck in the bank yesterday.
I know. I'm good for another month.
Anyway, any hips that stood out to you while you're out there, Josh?
Well, I mean, we talked about Horn. What's scary is Horn looks like a guy that could be a Rivals 250 corner down the road. He is clearly below Gentry Williams. Gentry Williams had a chance to be a 5-star guy. I mean, he is crazy special. And I was sitting there the day I was at Booker T. I was joined by OU, Oklahoma State, Michigan, Tulsa, Iowa State, and somebody else. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Booker T has some other guys. We'll might get into some of the names that I think maybe could sneak up and get some OU attention down the line, and Booker T has one. But Gentry Williams he plays quarterback, and, you're kind of watching, and you're like, he throws the ball okay. He does what Booker T needs him to do. But it's when the play breaks down and he gets outside the pocket, and you're watching Booker T guys. I mean, a bunch of good athletes. And he looks like he's playing with little kids, and he's just going into his sophomore year. I mean, his speed is – I've seen fast guys. I haven't seen a lot of guys like him. He's like Ted Ginn.
I just noticed Bob's shirt that he's wearing today.
I did too.
Why don't you just get a shirt that says, yes, I've had sex? His shirt – tell him what your shirt says.
It's a dad-to-be with a loading sign. And it's
a bunch of baby bottles?
With the bottles as your loading process.
Like
I find it offensive.
The phrasing makes me uncomfortable. This is very much Archer.
Phrasing. Loading. How many people wear that shirt but actually aren't expecting a baby? That's what I want to know.
I
think I need that shirt.
If you do that, you're next in line to be arrested as a pedophile. There's no doubt about that.
No, I think that would be brilliant for just a dude to wear, so people go, "Oh, when's the baby coming?" "Oh, there's no baby."
No baby.
With one of those like dog collars just strapped to your belt buckle. You know what I'm talking about, like that you put on children.
Yes. So what, you just really gonna carry one of those around without it being strapped to a child?
Yes. It'd be really
Eddie,
weird.
You took
I want
it
you to wear
a
that
place
shirt just as a
I
conversation
wasn't prepared
starter.
to go.
The what?
I just want you to wear that as a conversation starter. Like, oh, when's the baby? Nothing. My name's Eddie.
What?
No baby.
I haven't found him yet.
Yeah. There's been no Father's Day where
actually,
I got that.
You say, well,
you know what the weirdest thing you could
be
say
your
after
baby.
that?
Could be your. That's right. That's how you start it. Could be yours.
Because technically, loading is open-ended.
I'm going to say the weirdest thing you could say to that question is just trying to lose my virginity.
That would be one of them.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking
I have to
though.
lose my virginity
I was
first.
thinking, would you like to sample my semen? But either one would work, I guess. Either one would work.
I mean, basically what you're saying is if someone says, oh, when is your baby due? I think you're saying use it as a pickup line.
Yeah.
You've come up with a very bad one. That is not going to work. And if it is going to work, if it does work, you need to run away from that woman because you're going to get a disease.
So it's also process of elimination is what it is.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Depending on how quickly she runs away from you, that defines your level of pursuit. So,
and especially if you're at a high school football field.
Now, Bob, I'm going to say
you cannot wear that shirt when you cover a high school game, Bob. You can't. I'm forbidding it.
I don't wear T-shirts. I'm always a polo guy.
Yeah, you are. He is.
Bob is a polo.
I don't wear a shirt to high school games.
Bob just goes. Chest paint.
You need to
chest paint with both teams, so you're 50-50.
Totally unbiased.
Seriously, after the kid is born, you need to give that to a single guy. I really want you to.
I think it'd be very creepy if a single guy wore that.
That's why I want him to give it to a single guy.
I would disagree. would not talk to the single person if they wore that.
The only shirt that I know I don't like as much as the one Bob's had on, and I can't even see it, I just know I don't like it, is it's a Bob thing you wouldn't understand. Who buys those shirts on Facebook? Are you serious?
It's a Bob thing?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a name thing. You insert your
it's
name.
a Josh thing.
Yeah,
it's a Josh thing. Like, or it's their last name. It's a Davis thing. You wouldn't understand. Shut the hell up. Like, you and the 7 million other Davises within the country.
It's a very Aggie thing to do.
Yes.
This would be a great segue. And by the way, you can now buy Soonerscoop.com T-shirts on Soonerscoop.com.
It's coming. It's coming.
How about that? Oh, it's a segue and a tease.
Yes.
How about
It's
that?
a scoop thing. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, we're not making those.
Yeah,
t-shirts.
there we go.
We're not making those
We'll
t-shirts.
sell 3 of them.
That is
Bob will be one.
That's very angry kind of, youth churchy. I don't know. So,
yeah, any youth pastor that sells those probably later on in life is going to be convicted of
some sexual
having sex
crime.
with like a 14-year-old. Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
We've used up our quota of pedophile jokes today.
Well, it wasn't a pedophile joke as much of a comment. That was a statement.
Okay. So, Eddie, Bob, you guys were out on the road as well. Let's hear a little bit about what you guys saw this last week and didn't see.
We're gonna try to. We're gonna try to hit some big time camps tomorrow. One at Santa Fe in the morning, and
Tulsa's still above water.
One in Owasso in the afternoon. If it all goes down, we're looking at Jenks, Del City, Norman North, Santa Fe here in the metro, and then heading out east to Booker T, Stillwater, Owasso. Who am I forgetting? Union, of course, since they're hosting it. I mean, that's a lot of... If you can't do what Josh does and do the tour and get in-depth with each school that you can go to, try to hit all of these at one time is like the best alternative.
Team camp's usually pretty good.
Was there anything in terms of information, whether it was Rame or whoever, that you really got something new that you didn't know from last week?
I would say the two that really stood out as far as just picking up a lot of information were Andrew Rame. I just hear it's an interesting thing because I hear a lot of really positive buzz, just everything moving in the right direction. His contact with Oklahoma is really good. He even during our interview, and obviously that's already run for the people that are listening that don't know what I'm talking about. You can go see that. It's on his Rivals page, all that good stuff. He mentioned, because I was kind of talking to him. We knew he was going to visit Georgia. We knew he was going to visit Michigan. And I talked to him, well, when do you think you might get back down to Oklahoma? And he was like, I was down there about a couple weeks ago. I didn't really put it out there for anybody. And you're like, oh, okay. So, stuff like that is a positive. And then I asked him, the thing that really stood out to me, besides kind of what I was hearing behind the scenes, some stuff I can't fully divulge, but I can say is very, very positive for Oklahoma, was him talking, and he mentioned the day before I was there, I came up the first day on Wednesday. I saw him 2 straight days. I came up on Wednesday, and he had spoken on the phone to Nick Saban the day before, and Alabama's kind of trying to get back into his recruitment. And when he visits Georgia, I think he's going to do Georgia on Saturday and Alabama on Sunday is what I believe he told me. Well, what was interesting, I said, well, that would give you 6 schools because he'd listed his top 5 recently. And I said, well, does that mean maybe you'll visit the other 5 officially, and then you've been to Oklahoma so much that, maybe you just go down there for a weekend on the unofficial or something. And he kind of talks. He goes, I hadn't really thought about that. I don't really know where I am with that. I do want to take all 5 of my officials. And then he kind of pauses for a second. He goes, but Oklahoma will definitely be one of my officials. And you're like, okay, that's usually a good sign when I try to lead a guy away from an answer and he comes back and corrects me. No, that's definitely going to happen. And I would say, just in short, the other one is AJ Green. Pretty clearly a big Oklahoma fan. I think he's really a kind of win, not if, in that 2021 class, and might be a pretty good bet to jump in with Cody Jackson here at some point, maybe this summer.
Okay, I want to go to Bob real quick. I want to get an update on the eyeball emoji report.
Thunder outside the studios.
Indeed.
Well, we're in Oklahoma right now. I'm just glad we don't have any tornado worries.
Real quick, I just wanted to jump in and say
sure.
that when I was editing both of those interviews, you did one with AJ Green and Andrew Ram while you were up here, Josh. It very much gave the feel of, and I'm kind of reiterating what you just said, but I would be shocked if either of those guys didn't commit to Oklahoma and end up playing. It just seemed like you get the feeling when I go through some of these videos and stuff, you can tell what guys not necessarily are sincere, but actually give a damn, I guess, like kind of what they're telling you and not just giving you answers to be giving you answers. And both of those guys jump off the page as far as
they're sincere and they're genuine.
Yeah, but I think it's different for in-state guys a little bit. I would just throw that out there, though, that I would be completely shocked if either one of those guys didn't end up at OU.
I feel better about Rame than I've probably felt in 6 months. And I've always been pretty confident. We had a lot of fans like, I don't know where this is coming from on Josh, blah, blah, blah. I've talked to enough people that I felt pretty good, but just being around him, being around the BA staff, talking to various people, it sounds right for Oklahoma. We'll have to be patient and kind of see what happens. I think obviously these upcoming visits, like I said, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama here in the next few weeks, those will be huge. We'll have to see what happens. Maybe something could really shake him up, but just where I'm at with him, I think Oklahoma's in really good shape. And I know, talking to the BA staff, they have had not only Bill Bedenbaugh at Oklahoma, but also the Georgia staff has pretty much told them, they think he's among the top 2 or 3 offensive linemen in the entire country.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you said after you saw him that you now believe he's the best in-state offensive lineman you've ever evaluated. And I'm sitting there thinking back. I mean, I assume that means pre-Wes Sims.
Wes was like, I worked for Rivals, but it basically was enough to, pay for my alcoholism in college. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that I was really capable of making an evaluation at that point. Grew up playing against Jamal Brown, so got mad respect for that dude. Beat the life out of me more than once.
And let's say Jamal was, he was specifically considered to be a defensive end, too, coming out. People forget he started out as a defensive end at OU and switched over he had to be coaxed into switching over to the offensive line.
Which is that story comes up a lot in Oklahoma over the last 20 years. Lane Johnson, him. There's a lot of guys. It makes you wonder if Larry Burdine just missed his calling. So, but no. Yeah, you're talking about guys like Bray Walker, Matt Romine. There's been some good ones.
See, Matt Romine was kind of the first that came to my mind because, he was the guy that in-state went to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, yep.
And then transferred out of there, I think. Or maybe he stayed, but just never made an impact. I can't remember.
I think so. He left. I want to say he was one of the early grad transfers. Like I almost want to say he went back to TU or something his last year, something like that. And I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he, Matt just, I know there were some injuries, like it just didn't ever fully come together. But, you run through some of the lesser known guys like Michael Bowie that had a long, he may still be with the Seahawks. Alvin Bailey had a great career at Arkansas, a good NFL career. He's been a good player. There's been a lot of really good. Hell, Eddie played with a guy that had as much talent as anybody in Myron McKinney. That dude could have been a great player.
Well, and you had, what's his name? Chase?
He was a very good player.
Beeler?
Yep. Chase Beeler was outstanding at Jinx.
He just lacked what you want. You know what I mean? We've talked about it before. I'm not going to throw Myron under the bus. He's a good guy.
Sure. That's, that's the thing people mistake.
Whoops, I am.
Wow. Again, man. No one is sacred. No one's safe with Eddie. Don't think there's favoritism here.
The Barisi brothers, those are two that come to mind.
They were really good.
Yep.
One of them,
Ben was a very good player.
I think Joe might have torn his ACL against us my freshman year. Like I remember being on the field and he tore his ACL. It was a bad deal.
Yeah. The Kempenick guy, he was kind of underrated, but he was there when Bob got here. He was a really good. He ended up being a 90s
really guy. He was like a late 90s.
Yeah. He would have been 98, 99, something like that.
Scott Kempenick.
I want to say he was a senior on the national championship team, wasn't he?
That sounds right.
I think that is correct.
I think he was one of the starters, if I'm not mistaken. Him, Romero, Bubba.
Kelly Gregg didn't flip around and play offensive line, did he?
No.
Not at OU, but like in high school, did he? I don't even remember.
Boy, I don't know.
He could
Probably.
have.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, he'd have been a monster. Put him at center.
I don't know if
Beat the
Of course, I
crap
think they
out of
only had
everybody.
one Edmond school then, so.
See, I don't even think that Holloman did at North.
Barry.
Yeah. I think he was just straight defensive line, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all of those guys were definitely recruited defensive
Oh, yeah.
ends, came in,
For
played
sure.
defensive ends.
Jalen Barnett's another good one from Lawton.
Yeah. See,
I mean, you talk about a guy that
He had to retire.
That's right.
is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
As he got late, like his senior year, he just didn't move. Like it looked like his knees bothered him. Like he had some sort of, I don't know. He never looked like he did as a sophomore when he was so
Right.
fluid and athletic.
Let me ask
I mean,
you.
other than Jamal Brown,
Let me-
Creed Humphrey has a chance to be
Creed's
the
up
highest
there. What about
drafted
But
Oklahoma lineman.
where does Bray sit as far as high school player that you covered?
Bray'd be 2 or 3. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd be right in that. I mean, Bray is probably a little more physically gifted. I mean, he's longer. He's probably a little bit more of a natural athlete than Rame is. Rame is like he's one of those rare offensive linemen. And I mean, I talked to him about it last week, and he was talking about graduating early, but I think he's decided to put that off, and he's just going to wait and go in, with the rest of his class in the summer. And he was kind of like, I realize it's going to be really hard for an offensive lineman to play first year, that kind of stuff, wherever I go. And I kind of walked away thinking, dude, if there's anybody that could do it, it's probably you. Like, I mean, his head coach is a damn NFL offensive lineman. Like,
Yeah.
And, his offensive position coach played in college, was a good player, and Rowdy Harper. I mean, there's probably no offensive lineman to come out of the state that's had more minds who know what they're talking about around him than Andrew Rame. And he's been prepped for this since he was a freshman. I mean, he's going to end up, God barring something awful, he'll start every game in his high school career at Broken Arrow. So, I mean, he's, like I said, he's just a guy that is way advanced technically. He understands what he wants to be doing. And I think more than Bray, and I know Bob and I have talked about this before, one of my problems with Bray is he was so much better than everybody, it looked like he would just go through the motions sometimes.
I
With
know exactly
Rame,
what you mean.
Absolutely.
Rame will beat the crap out of his best friend at practice and then pick him up off the turf. Like he's not wired like that. He's going to go all the way. He's not dirty. There's nothing bad about it, but he was putting guys down both the days of practice I saw, and then, pick him up, help him up. Now, that's not going to happen when he plays Jinx or Union, but he'll bury a dude. And I mean, it's no surprise, like I said earlier, with what schools, with guys like Pittman and Beedenbow at Georgia and Oklahoma, respectively, what they want out of their offensive linemen. It's no surprise they love Rame because he is nasty in the way they want.
This is not a concern, more of a question. I think when he was a couple years younger, we thought he'd grow into a tackle. And now it seems pretty clear he's not going to get those 2 or 3 more inches. Can he still play tackle, you think, at the next level?
I think he can. I mean, his length's not prototypical, but he's got good feet. He moves just fine. Like I want to see him. He's going to play in the Under Armour game. I'll go down there again this year. I want to see him in some pass rush stuff against some of those really elite edge guys that can really turn the corner and kind of see where he is. My deal is, even if you move him into guard, I mean, you're talking about a guy that could be a 2-time All-American at guard. Like, I mean, he's that good. He's one of those guys, the problem will settle itself. I don't care where he plays. He's going to be really, really good. And I think when the more I watch Bill Beedenbow recruit, the thing that sticks out to me, he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care if I see this guy as a tackle or a guard or a center. He likes those guys that can, okay, I could put him here, I could put him there, depending on the situation. Because that way he can do, and you guys watch it obviously much more closely than I do every spring, where he tinkers and he messes. Okay, I'm going to give this guy a shot at guard. Okay, I'm going to move this guy to tackle. He just messes with it because he cares about getting the best 5, not this is my best left tackle and we're going to kind of be shaky at left guard. We're going to put out the best unit that works as cleanly together as possible.
Yeah, first thing he did this last spring was move Bray Walker to guard.
And Simpson.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Daryl Simpson.
And Daryl Simpson.
Who who saw that coming? I mean, they were the left tackle and right tackle of the future.
He gives no shits. So you're right. I mean, he'll throw people in there and see. And like Cody Ford, like most of us didn't think that Cody Ford would work out at tackle, and it ended up making him a whole lot of money. So
present.
I'm glad, this time of year I find interesting. It's refreshing for me because this is kind of what we're used to, Josh, which is you kind of take over and drive the site. I would love to take you to my T doctor just to see like if your testosterone levels increase when you start seeing kids in person. I know that sounds bad.
Yes, it really
Evaluating
does.
kids. I mean, when you get out and you see football being played, it gets your juices flowing a little bit. I mean, more so than just sitting
No
around
better
at home
way
and
to
watching
check and
tape.
see than asking them if they want to sample your semen.
Jesus, and we've come full circle.
No,
I
but
feel like
because
there's no good answer to what you've just
because
said.
what happens is like not only are you're fired up, you're writing a lot of stories on the site, but you're also fighting with people on Twitter more this time of year. It seems like.
Well, we got people hiring, enablers. So I get into it. I can't help it. Got into a fight with a high school basketball coach last night. What can I say?
He did.
I did.
Was it the
Dude
Mount
was a
Vernon
dumbass.
basketball coach?
No, it was Hardin Jefferson. I mean, which I know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with it. I couldn't tell you where it is on a map, and I don't really care. But it's just, not one Texas high school coach has come out and been like, "This is wrong. This is just wrong. It's not." I don't.
The Georgetown
and,
football account came out and said something.
I found out that was
It
a
was like
fan.
a
Oh, that was
fan.
fake?
Yeah.
No,
Or a
fan.
fan. It's just a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a fan page, which I mean, it's better than anybody else has done. I don't understand. Like all these, some of our guys and rivals, Rob Cassidy, some of those guys are like, you're surprised that coaches are just going to be pansies about this. I guess I shouldn't be, but like, it's one of those things where, guys, if there was a media member that like, what was the dude for the Chicago Sun-Times, Jay Mariotti? Mm-hmm. It was just a huge piece of shit. Everybody in the media was like, he's a bastard. He's an awful human being that should not share this profession with us. And he's pretty much out of the game as far as I understand. But you don't feel like this makes you all look bad? This puts you all into question that football is more meaningful than, all the damn quotes you send out on Twitter all the time about being good men and being responsible and doing the right things and making good choices and all that sort of shit. No, you're just saying he's really good at being a football coach, which no one would argue. And the other part that bothers me is when you get into this, well, he can't have a career. No, he can go work at Walmart. He can be a greeter. He can do whatever the hell else he wants to do. Being in charge of helping to develop young men and learning values and being that kind of person, he's lost that right.
And instilling discipline. I mean, he's proven he can't instill discipline in young men.
The joke kind of on any of us that we're surprised this happened, though? It was going to happen at some
I wasn't
point.
surprised. I
wasn't surprised at all, but it seems like it's coming from a town that basically what the superintendent or the picture he's painted, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about anything nationally because I think they live in a little bubble, and that bubble is Mount Vernon, Texas, whatever the hell that is.
I just love
it's just
the people
unfortunate that I want their quarterback to break his leg now.
Yeah. I've thought, I have two little girls. I've thought about what if I was in the Mount Vernon school district. Like, I don't feel like I'm just saying this. I think we'd move. And it's not that all those boys are going to turn into rapists. That's not what I'm saying. It's the fact that there is no one within the school administration who is going to hold him and those kids account, because he's not going to hold the kids accountable, clearly. So who the hell's going to hold him accountable if he's doing whatever? Because they know about it. They hired him. They clearly don't give a shit.
You know why I don't get outraged about this is because I look at what's going to happen. This guy hired I'm trying to think of a word to use for him that's not just he hired a horrible human being. Just completely ignored any kind of warning sign or anything. He just said, I want to win football games. This guy helped me win football games. Guess what? He has now ruined his reputation in academics in high school forever. and Art Briles is going to coach there for a year, be really successful, and go coach at a small college or something.
Drop that school like a bad habit.
I mean, he's going to show no loyalty to that school, to Mount Vernon. He is simply using it. He's like, oh, somebody's going to get me back in the game. Let's do this. And the next time an opportunity that's not high school comes along, he's going to take it.
Can it be done, though, at a college level? I really don't know if... I think a high school level is the only place that this stunt could have been pulled off. Like,
because
do you think
college, you got
Briles is
a
going
board
to
of
do enough?
directors and you got academics that are going to stand up. I mean, it's going to be a different thing.
Yeah, I would think that this guy got himself fired just by hiring. Like, I would think that the pressure is just starting to build. I mean, they tried their Friday news dump. Now,
Memorial Day
weekend. Now,
Yeah,
eventually,
you have people from Dallas TV stations like living in Mount Vernon.
well,
right
did you
now.
hear the questions?
Yes,
to him?
it was
like,
it
who
was
did
incredible.
you vet this
Like
with?
I almost feel bad for the guy in that I just don't think he's a very smart person.
I felt bad for Grant Taff. I'm sure he's like, leave me out of this shit. I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, Grant Taff.
Grant Taff is 85 years old.
He's also somebody that said that Art Briles basically was a good person and was wronged for even being implicated that he had done something in Waco too.
Yeah, I described the vetting process as when you fill out a job like at the supermarket and you have to provide 3 recommendations, and that's all they did was they called those 3 recommendations.
Aunt Betty, Uncle Jim,
Yes.
and your parents.
Yeah.
And they all strangely had numbers that were one off
Jeff Lebby
of Art Briles's.
Jeff Lebby, my daughter, and Kendall Briles. There's your references.
Definitely wasn't putting his parents down.
But I mean, the guy was like, "Did you talk to any victims at Baylor?" No.
It was
Talk to any-
it took
anybody from the
tone
NCAA?
deaf to a
No,
new
no.
level is what it took. Like I didn't think that there was that dumb enough people out there to buy what he was selling.
You always want to think. I mean, that's admirable, Eddie, that you could, that you thought that humanity was better than it was.
Oh, I've never wanted a high school team not to win a game more than. But that's the other thing is like they weren't bad. I think they were 9-3 last year. They went to the 3rd round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
in
their coach
3A or
moved on to
4A.
a different program.
I mean, I would
or something.
think I would think Mount Vernon's going to be like, let's be good, but not too good. Like let's not have to have a bunch of. But like when Sports Center pulls this up, I mean, I haven't seen has Sports Center run anything on this.
I don't know.
I haven't seen anything.
I mean,
but
eventually pressure's going to come nationally, and that's
Yeah.
when everybody's getting fired.
it'll be
They just
interesting.
didn't think this thing through at all.
No, I think that they thought that nobody was going to think anything of it, and everybody was going to just move on.
They want to go nationally. They better not make the state championship game and
Yeah,
head.
no kidding. Can you imagine what a
World for
nightmare
a
that's going to
weekend.
be?
Can you imagine Fox Sports Southwest trying to and here's Art Briles taking the field with his Mount Vernon, whatever the shit they are.
DQ game of the week.
Jerry Jones can't get to the stadium because of all the protests.
DQ game of the week instead of Happy Meals, they're handing out rape kits.
Rape whistles. Get a free
know-
rape whistle with your Taco 2-pack.
I
Go
don't
Mount
lie.
Vernon.
It surprised me. I know you guys both said, I didn't. I thought people had realized. I mean, because several other places have tried to hire him, and then people were like, no, don't take the. He couldn't get a job in Canada because of this shit. And, you thought in Texas, right in the heart of this thing.
I think it never even got to the stage, but I think a team in Italy talked to him, and they were like, we can't hire you.
No, he's coaching
No,
in Italy.
yeah, he's
that's
in
why he's still
Italy.
over there.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
His team is in the playoffs
Yeah,
or something.
it
That's
was-
why he hasn't come. Oh, that's the reason he hasn't come back. I'm sure it's not to let the f***ing storm blow over.
You had CFL, you had Southern Miss, and those were the two that I could think of in terms of Briles.
Josh
You
can
wanna
never.
know-
Josh can never say he didn't drop the first F-bomb on a podcast either today.
Boom.
This is your
Oh,
T. Your T is just. I'm worried about your T. It's very
my T
high.
is up.
Yeah.
My T is up. You know who hasn't tweeted a word about Art Briles getting his first coaching job in the States again?
Art Briles,
His own
Kendall
damn
Briles,
son.
Jeff Levy. Yeah.
Well, his
His
son knows
own
that he still has
son-
to recruit.
Yeah, he knows he's f***ing radioactive. He won't even touch his own dad. But Mount Vernon will.
Please don't bring Imagine Dragons into the podcast.
Too late.
You don't love Imagine Dragons? I thought we all loved Imagine Dragons.
I'm just sick of them. Stop putting them in your commercials.
I was going to say, I don't think they even make albums anymore. They just make commercials.
Commercial
Hey,
music,
Jingles.
not a bad gig.
That's big money. That's fine.
Okay,
Emojis.
Emojis. What has been out there? What do we know? What do we not know?
Well, there's 5 that remain unaccounted
Jesus.
for, and it feels like not all 5 will come to fruition. But the thing that hurts people the most right now is that we've had 3 since last Thursday, and that's when people start to get annoyed. When you had Nate Anderson and Noah Nelson, they went on the day that their eye went up. It's like, yes, finally we're starting to get the immediate stuff. And now that we've had 3 since Thursday, Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Saturday night, and now we're almost a full week later. The natives are getting restless.
Well, the natives
they
need
are.
to get a life.
No, I mean, I get it.
It's a delicate balance, obviously, because
But it shouldn't be. Am I in the minority on that? Like, I don't understand why people get bent out of shape.
Well, here's the
It's supposed
thing.
to be a fun, interactive thing that with your university, and I feel like some people out there are like losing sleep over it.
But it's kind of like, it's. I think these kids kind of have to realize, kind of like with the here's my list of 12.
Sure.
Like
There's some give or take on both sides.
At some point,
if you're a recruit and you know Lincoln has put the eyes out and it's for you, you need to figure
get it
out
out there. Yeah.
Or don't tell them that you're ready to commit.
Yeah. I mean, don't commit, or I mean, like you're just pissing off the people that are rooting for you, that make it possible for you to have the attention you
It's
have.
going to reach a point.
But they're gonna cheer for him anyways.
No,
I mean,
Exactly.
he can wait 3 years, and those guys are gonna. Oh, I knew it was you there, Boomer.
We knew you had that OU DNA.
It's just a pissing match for nothing, basically.
Well, Josh,
okay.
I do want to bring Josh into this because I think the debate now has become how much do you say in terms of the class, in terms of the offense, defense, position. And I think
we've had discussions about this.
It puts you in a tough spot. You can give away a lot by saying a little.
Yep.
Basically.
And I'll tell anybody, if you go back through and look at the board chat, I left a few little nuggets in there. Like I try to give people as much as I can without putting a big ass red arrow pointing at it. Like, guys, it's so hard because Bob's exactly right. It's a really fine line to walk because we have all these subscribers and, we love them and we try to give them everything we can. But at the same time, if I go pissing off sources, I won't know anything anymore. I can't even have, I can't give you, because I know everybody's like, well, the commitment's the whole point. It's not anymore, guys.
And it hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah. When kids start breaking their own commitment, what am I going to announce it before they do? That's not going to happen. It's not possible. It's not realistic. So I've got to lead you down the road of watch this guy. Things are happening here. This is a good situation. I feel very good about where Oklahoma is with this. There's all these things I can tell you that the people that have been on the board a long time recognize that they know what I'm trying to get at.
And trust me, when the kids finally do announce it, it allows us to. Our job now is not to break the commitments. It's to stay on top of the commitments.
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
when that kid commits and we have a video, ready to go, Bob has a story ready to go. Like when the kid finally does it, we just want you to know, yes, we've been on top of this thing. We're not ruining anyone's moment. That's not what we're here to do. I grew up in the era where you would break a commitment before a kid, got it out there.
Right. That's not what we do now.
That's not the world we live in anymore because of social media. I mean, that's one thing. It's just like you used to buy a paper every day for a quarter. How many people do that now? Not a whole lot of people. Well, you can't even buy them for a quarter, so.
But
I don't even know how much it is to buy a daily paper anymore. Is it $1?
I think that's right.
It might be.
The thing that I want people to think about when they see these eyes, because everybody's like, well, what's the point of Lincoln tweeting these out? Think of it like Christmas. Your presents are there weeks before you can actually open them. Like as your kid, they're there, something's coming, it's going to be fun, you're going to get some gift you've always wanted, whatever. But at the same time, you don't know until it's the day. And I realize that Christmas, we know what day that's going to be. That's fine. Good news is coming. I can tell you that all 3 guys in the last week are priority guys.
Yes.
These are guys Oklahoma wants. These are big gets. I really like what OU's done over the last week. It's been a very good week for Oklahoma football. You just got to wait. And would you know, the flip side of it is, okay, say Lincoln doesn't tweet that out. Would you rather not know that you have something to look forward to?
That's what I've been pointing. Like when Stoops and just how the past had always done. You never knew anything. It just popped up one day.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay, cool. Now you know good stuff is coming.
It wasn't that long ago when Bob did a couple of those like boom 918, boom 972s, you know, and everybody's like, holy shit, what is this? And let's not forget that
What's
we
that
did
area
have
code?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
and I think we all remember one of the times those happened, commitment got reported by someone that just saw the area code and took a wild ass guess at who
Glory
it was, and
days.
then and reported it as fact, and you know that
The kid never came to you.
Nope. He is
Still happens to an effect.
Oh yeah, there's plenty
extent.
of guesses going on. Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors of reports that it's a guy that OU's going to be really excited about. Nobody saw coming. That's been out there on some talk I've seen. Might have been from me Monday night and followed by others, since. But whatever, no big deal. Nothing bitter.
It does feel like, in some sense, that people they don't even care who it is as much as they want the eyeballs, they want a name, and then they're like, move on. It's like a Pac-Man, almost like
if
He's not good enough. That's not who I want.
Yeah, I want more. It's like an addict almost.
That's not who I wanted.
I think that's the thing that
It's
just get
more
sick
crack
of.
than it is cocaine.
Yeah, it's like they don't really care who it is as much as name, stars, next.
Well, 'cause
What do we pay you for? No, you don't. This is Twitter, sir.
knowledgeable
So you got-
people do know. They can connect the dots, and they know, and there's like, oh, I should be excited. And I'll just wait for that day.
I think at least one of the three, I would say, if you're on our board, what would you say, Bob? Probably 65% could guess the one.
Yes.
I think he's pretty clear. I'm still not going to say. I mean, that's just not the way we're
not
going to
how-
do it. Yeah, like I don't want to operate like that because I know these kids. I have to go deal with them. I have to deal with their coaches. I have to meet their parents. And
It's like right now-
you're the shithead that took my kid's biggest moment away.
Like right now, Bob in Sooner Scoop, we don't end there. I mean, just with a commitment, we're going to cover these kids all through college. Like you and Bob, Josh right now are trying to get in touch with all the kids that are getting ready to come in. I mean, to do interviews, entrance interviews, if you will, to just do stories about, talk to them one last time before they get on campus. And then we don't know when the next time is. We'll talk to them. So, I mean, if we were in the business of, breaking, commitments before kids were ready to announce, they'd never talk to us for stuff like that. They'd be pissed at you the entire time. They were at OU.
I mean,
It just wouldn't be worth it. Like,
it's not.
Why would that even be? Oh, so you could be 30 minutes before a kid announces? It just doesn't make sense to me. Or,
It's just the world
days
we live
before
in
he's
now.
ready to announce.
Okay, and think if we run it. All right, let's think of this from the kid's perspective. Okay, we run the commitment. We say, okay, we know the facts. They've committed this guy. Not only have I burned my source, but you're risking the situation where the kid's like, well, I only told 5 people, and so is, whether, like, let's say he blames one of the coaches. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, I don't know if I can trust Oklahoma. This was supposed to
I
be
think that's a real
my situation.
issue, yeah.
And then you've injected yourself into the recruiting process, which is everything we don't want to do. I just want to cover it. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to tell these kids what to do. I don't want to have any impact on what they're thinking.
we don't need
And
a
if
Chris Steele thing.
Yes, like that's not my job.
Yeah, you really can't compare recruiting commitments to like what Adrian Wojnarowski or Adam Schefter does. I mean, they're breaking information about personnel. Like it's not an industry. Breaking commitments is not a news industry anymore.
We've gone through that before, and I forget who it was. I'm trying to think who it was, but it wasn't too recent. Like, if a kid decides to transfer and we catch wind of it, I think that's a completely different
Or if a kid's in a
Animal.
transfer portal,
Yes.
or
Or
whatever.
yes, that's
absolutely.
like
Ron Tatum.
Oh,
Ball's
yeah.
all over Ron Tatum.
Yeah.
So, and that's all good. Though,
It's like your last right of
That's fair game, yeah.
It's your last right of privacy before you graduate high school, basically.
Exactly. And part of it is the standard is the standard. That's the way this situation operates. And that's why the Chris Steele thing, everybody was like, what the hell just happened? Because no one does that.
Like the Brew McCoy stuff that's going on right now, that's fair game.
It is.
I mean, if you
Yep.
report, if a kid's already on a campus and he's going to transfer
That thing.
back to the school that he transferred from in the first place, it's like, that's all fair game.
You
But
know
not with-
he's in Cali. You know he's not going through summer workouts.
But not without
Absolutely.
a last ditch effort, which I think should be
Last-
aired on the Longhorn Network
Yeah, that'd be
this
pretty good.
evening.
That would be
I mean,
good.
that's a story right there.
Like, talk about a recipe for a great landing place for Brew McCoy. Shows up for 2 weeks at USC, doesn't like anybody, leaves. Okay. Or he can go to Texas, where he did not sign his letter of intent and has already said he doesn't want to come back to. Like, either one of those landing spots, the locker room should be very inviting to him.
Were there ever any? And I guess I might have completely missed this during his recruitment, but was he known as like a little asshole? Or I mean, it seems very strange, and you don't ever hear like the teammates or anybody coming out and I don't know. Is there a bigger story than just Brew McCoy being indecisive, I guess?
Everything I heard about the kid was, positive.
It was all on the up and
not,
up?
Yeah, not like, oh, he's the pillar of his community. They
Right.
he was a fine kid,
Right.
no problems.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was something out there that maybe nobody had ever said before.
Could
I
you
don't know.
see? I mean, here's part of
It's
the problem
it's
too.
insane to me.
And this is a good example of how well Lincoln's been recruiting offensively. But could you see like Lincoln making a special trip with like Jalen Hurts and like Cale Gundy to fly down to talk to or fly to Georgia to talk to Jaden Hazelwood if he was thinking about leaving or something?
Well, it would have been like somebody that had already been on campus and that they were trying to like ring back in. The whole thing is just insane. Who would
If
you
I'm
send?
If I'm OU, when Jaden Hazelwood comes back to campus, I have him come into the office and take a picture with Lincoln Riley and Jalen Hurts. Just like, yeah, we didn't have to go track our guy down. He just came to us.
that'd be a good
that would
troll
be
job.
and like,
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, like I would, and just have every OU account.
Or just
they
have
know
all
of
the five
tag Brian
stars. Have
Carrington. Yep.
Bridges, Theo Weiss, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Hazelwood, and Lincoln. Just send out just a random photo. Hey, can't wait to get started this summer.
Or do the tumbleweed GIF.
Tumbleweed,
With, at least our receiver came back. Nobody else is here, but our receiver's here. Our 5-star
It is a
out-of-state
ghost
guy.
town, but we got to
Just send out a tweet that said, "Here's the wide receiver position room in Austin right now, tumbleweed."
That's why I
do
could
that.
never be in charge of an important account like that. I would be snide as hell.
You could get. Trying to think what. You could get the entire class to go to Lowe's and put on the Lowe's Home Builders shirts, say they're building something, and just tag Brian Carrington. Any advice? Any advice on supplies?
Building a new deck, Brian. We got anything for us?
You're gonna be doing that in 5 years when you get your ass fired in Austin, sir.
Who says nothing good happens in college football during the offseason?
Okay,
Hasn't been too
speaking
bad.
of, we got to get into Zach Evans a little bit.
Yes, we do.
His announcement of his Final Five.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
way
saying
too big
final.
and weird.
Yeah, I'm
Or
not
his-
saying final.
His
five
announcement of
whatever
of five schools. Yeah.
Two of which, Ohio State and Oklahoma, I know he's had almost no contact with in the last month.
You gotta go beyond that, right? I mean, it's just weird.
So there's really a Final Two, and he didn't include them. Basically,
I know, and I know,
possible.
like, everybody's out there putting out the story, and I'm like, you guys know you're just saying the things he wants you to say. Like, this reeks of Eric Young.
yeah. See, you don't have to.
to another level.
You don't have to. You can hold a kid's
So
commitment.
you don't buy it at all, Josh. Is basically
Not
what you're
even.
saying.
But like
Not
that's
for
what I'm
5
saying,
seconds.
Josh. You can you got to play by the rules when it comes to the commitment thing. But when you know someone is f***ing around,
Yeah.
you don't have to play by the rules and let them use you to screw with the public.
Oh, exactly. Now, like if I know the kid well, like I'll help him to a point, but I'm not like making myself accountable to your lies. Like I when I know, I'm like, this is bullshit. This smells of bullshit. It reeks. Like if he would have said UT's out or A&M's out, okay, maybe I could get there. Both of them, hell no. This is a setup and a half.
And
like,
explain to people when you say this reeks of Eric Young. Explain to people what he did last year.
good point. Sorry. This is Carrie bringing me back to the basics. I like it.
Josh, I'm trying to think who the top was. It OU, USC, and the Buckeyes. Were those his?
I think that was right.
That's
those
the
were
final
the teams
three.
he released.
That's the final three.
His final three.
Yes.
That was his final three. And was it 1 day later or 2 days later he announced, Bob? I'm trying to remember. I think it was the next day.
Yeah. Yep.
So Eric Young, 5-star corner, teammate of current OU freshman Jamal Morris at Richmond Bush here in the Houston area, which I think is kind of a part of this story. It's because it's something that's happened a couple of times here in Houston the last few years. It seems to become one of the tricks
new
of
shell
the area.
game.
Yeah, like like the hat game. Like this is what it feels like. So anyway, Eric Young last year, everybody had him pegged to A&M. I mean, coaching staffs, recruiting guys like me, everybody. It was A&M. It was done. Everybody knew it. I knew reporters that already pretty much had stories written, kind of like we do when we know something's coming down the pipe. So announces the day before that his final three, like Bob said, was USC, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. And I immediately, I get USC people like, is this real? And then funny enough, the same guy we were referencing earlier on the Chris Steele situation was like, I'm kind of hearing it might be USC. I'm like, dude, you're not hearing that. Like, I don't know who you're hearing it from, but you're hearing it wrong. And, so like, and I'm talking to a few people and I'm like, just people that I know in the A&M market that I know would know what's going on. And they're like, this is him screwing around. This is just a kid having fun with it. And that's fine. Like if a kid wants to screw with everybody, that's him. But at the same time, I'm not going to play the game. I don't have to pretend to be stupid. I'm not going to do it. And Eric Young, everybody knew he was going to A&M, and literally the day after he announces that A&M's not in his final three, he picks A&M and is like, ha, everybody fell for it. Nobody fell for it. Just like nobody's fallen for this. Like, oh, well, okay. There are I don't think anybody's actually falling for it, but there are certain people playing along. And that's fine. That's cool. Let's see. Zach Evans came to Oklahoma about a year ago. That's the only time he's ever visited Norman. I have no knowledge of him returning at any point in the near future, and I don't expect a visit will ever happen. I think Oklahoma's going to be done at running back this summer, and that'll be it. So, and that's part of it too. So Oklahoma, who's been telling, whether it's Chris Tyree or Seth McGowan or any of these other running backs, okay, you're our guy, man. We're focused on you. We're not really even talking to any other guys because this guy wants to have some fun. And I'm not making Zach a bad guy. He's really not a bad kid. I've dealt with him for a while. This is just a high school kid.
I thought he was a really good kid to deal with in Atlanta last year. I mean, seemed like a really good kid.
Yeah. This is just a high school kid doing high school shit. That's okay. Like, I'm not vilifying him. I'm just saying when he does this, there is a chain reaction. And Oklahoma and Ohio State, who are recruiting other guys and aren't really that involved with him, have to come back and say, we don't know why we're in this top five. You're our guy. Like, and they have to go through the whole deal of convincing these kids that, like, what we're telling you is truth. We're not dealing with this guy. And then they kind of have to juggle all that. And that's, like I said, is it a big deal? No. Like, everybody's going to survive it. But it's just one of those things where, again, he's 16, 17, and he's not thinking about that crap. He's having fun and trying to trick everybody. And LSU has a real chance. Alabama, maybe. Georgia, God, they're getting everybody. So maybe. But it'll be one of those three, and then you can cut out the two schools that start with O, put them with the two in-state schools, and that's his real five, and you'll see where he goes from there.
The track record is not real good for kids that do this, and we'll find out on Eric Young, but Tremonda Moore tried to do this too, kind of. He left OU in even when OU was like
orchestrating stuff
out.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Who was the? Oh no, it was Brew McCoy that people were saying this week that is going to flame out.
Yeah,
Like,
Well, good.
I mean,
I know.
why would you think that he'd have success at this point?
Yeah. I mean,
know-
there's nothing that tells me he will stay on campus at USC. He'll be the first guy that enters his name in the XFL draft. Watch.
Oh, I could see
that'd
that.
He won't play
That'd be
next year and then enter his name.
Bob's first round pick.
Maybe.
That'd be pretty awesome.
They're going to go offense, though. I think they're going to go with
What?
They're gonna go offense.
Okay. So, did we leave anything unsaid there?
No,
think
can we
so.
take a topic where I don't have to talk because I think people are sick of hearing my shit at this point. I've ranted like 3 times in this poor pod.
Okay.
if we don't have anything else, I have something to
no,
throw
I,
at Bob.
I have.
You have something?
You mean recruiting wise?
Basketball. We'll hit it on the end.
Okay. I did have a chance to go down and talk to Lincoln Riley last week on Thursday. And since we didn't pod last week, I thought I would bring some of this back up. And I know we talked a lot about defensive recruiting, turning around the defense. And that was certainly quite a bit of the talking points and the questions that Lincoln got. So let me play some of Lincoln just talking about, I think it was Eric Bailey was asking the question about, is there a little bit of a grace period for Alex Grinch until he gets his own players in here? And Lincoln basically said, well, he didn't say that there wasn't a grace period, but he basically said he doesn't care about his own players. He wants his defense to be good now.
They know what's expected, and they've got a chance to feel that. They've got a chance to really, be coached the way that we want them to. And so no different than lifting a weight to get stronger, no different than watching film to learn a system better. It's the way that you carry yourself and everything that you do. There's a standard for that, and you've got to meet that standard, and you've got to consistently do that. And so, our strength coaches are very much in line with what we expect there. They're kind of an extension of us during this time. And it's laid out there. And I think we've got some good leaders that are kind of helping drive the whole thing along. So it'll be a critical point.
And that was Lincoln really talking more about how the defense gets better this summer, talking about working with Benny Wiley. Here he is more talking about that immediate turnaround.
I tell you this, in interviewing defensive coordinators, if there was somebody like that, that wouldn't be the person we would bring in there. I mean, that's you want somebody that's thrilled about what you have right now. And yeah, you're never going to have a team where you sit there and say we don't want to recruit better and continue to get deeper and more talent and all that. But I wanted somebody that felt like that we could be darn good with the guys we have right now because we think we can. And I don't think talent right now is keeping us from being a great defense. Now, can our talent get better? Will it continue to get better as we improve and put the results on the field? Yes, it will. But there is the makings of a really, really good defense here, and we've just got to all do our job better and put it together.
First off, I got to figure out who had an orgasm in the middle of that.
Right? What was that?
Hold on. I got to play this again and isolate this orgasm.
boy.
Hold on.
I tell you this, in interviewing defensive coordinators, if there was somebody like that, that wouldn't be the person we would bring in there. I mean, that's you want somebody that's thrilled about what you have right now. And yeah, you're never going to have a team where you sit there and say we don't want to recruit better and continue to get.
What the hell? Okay, got to find
Never
this here.
noticed that. I've heard that a couple times, and I have not noticed that yet.
It was 19 minutes in.
Who's most likely to have an orgasm to another man's voice out of
I
the
think
media
we
career?
know. Hold on, let me see if I can isolate this thing.
It's wild. It's funny.
I tell you this, in interviewing defensive coordinators, if there was somebody like that, that wouldn't be the person we would bring in there. I mean, that's you want somebody that's thrilled about what you have right now. And yeah, you're.
Yeah, I did. Something went haywire there. Hold on. Yeah, I mean, I think we know who it probably was.
It was just unexpected.
Okay, here we go. Let me try this. This shortens it.
You need to get deeper and more talent.
Okay.
You need to get.
Almost there.
You get.
I think I know who it is now.
If you do that like repetitively over the course of a song, we could maybe make a fat beat.
Are you
know.
gonna rap? Are you freestyling?
No, I'm not.
for us?
I'm not going to. But we need to put together some maybe some beats, and
See what we can do.
it could be the next. Could be the next Daddy Doo Doo song or whatever, Sharknado or whatever you call it.
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark.
It's a baby shark, dude.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Daddy doo-doo.
Now, do you girls love that song, Josh?
Yes, Lainey loves it. We have some. I actually, funny we bring that up. I introduced Lainey to Led Zeppelin this morning. So
Wow.
that was yeah. Well, she gets a lot of
Early. This is called early morning tripping.
Yep, that's.
Let's say
she
Zeppelin
gets a
is
lot
really
of-
tripping music.
Yeah. No, that's something a little harder. But no,
Heroin?
she gets a lot of pop from Lainey, from Tiffany, a lot of Taylor Swift, a lot of that kind of basic idea, which is fine. She's a little girl, she's supposed to do that kind of stuff. But every once in a while, Dad's got to be like, this is what actual music sounds
I'm taking
like.
you didn't go with
So-
like something light and airy like Tangerine. You probably went with
No,
something.
we went with Immigrant Song.
Okay.
We went real hard. Like we because I was talking about. I said
You know what
something
your wall
about
policy is now.
I didn't get that.
Trump's wall.
Immigrant.
Oh,
Immigrant
song. Okay.
So
It's funny because
we
they're not
were-
American.
I think Layla's going to be kind of my rock and roller. She likes stuff real loud. She's always turning up the volume on stuff. She yells real loud. She's loud. And I said something about her. She's going to be my rocker. And Lainey's like, what's rock? And so we got into the whole thing. And I was like, well, I got to start from the start here. So I played her some Led Zeppelin. Now, I won't lie, Carrie, and you can appreciate, it was a real thing as I was trying to decide where I wanted to start in the Zeppelin catalog.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
that's
really had to
important.
think about that. Yeah. So I could have went with something like you said, a little softer, kind of ease her in. But I was like, I want her to clearly know what I'm talking about when I say rock and roll, like Tangerine or Jamaica Song or something like that. Stuff's not gonna. It's great. Like I love it just the same, but like it's not gonna be.
You
the
want her to
same.
get the full effect.
Yeah,
of
I
Zeppelin.
want her to hear drums and guitars and that good stuff. So.
You can move on to the Who next.
Oh, love the Who. Huge Arsenal fans, by the way. So anyway, yeah,
Wow, is that the first time you've inserted the Arsenal into the podcast?
we got a huge game here in about an hour, so I'm getting kind of jacked up about it.
Interesting.
The face I just made was that Britney Spears face where you just kind of cross your eyes like, soccer.
I don't know how Eddie would have worked out here if he had gotten here when I got here in Josh's full-blown Arsenal days.
It used to be a lot worse.
He
There's
would
no doubt.
he would read books that were written about the Arsenal.
I've got them
like-
about 3 feet to my left as we speak. So
How many
still got
are
'em in.
there?
I would say I've probably got 10 Arsenal books. I would say I've read 7 of them.
Wow.
About what? Like the history? Like the
Yeah,
history
like
of the team?
Yeah, like just kind of how they like some of them are, like the great players. Some of them are just kind of like great stories, because Arsenal is kind of a, it sounds so funny to think about like English, but kind of like a rebel club. They kind of stole money from people. They did some kind of shady things to get where they are. So, yeah, so they've got some interesting storylines.
It'd be hard to get behind a team like that, but it's just me.
I would think that would be your team, Eddie.
That's my belief.
Yeah, and that sounds like right up your alley.
Is Arsenal? This is going to impress you. I think I'm going to get this right. Arsenal is owned by Kroenke, right?
Yep,
The
that's
St.
right.
Louis guy, or
Yep,
I guess
that's
the
him.
LA guy.
Well,
Yeah,
L.A.,
he,
Colorado.
Who does Eden's own? The guy for the Milwaukee Bucks. Doesn't he own a soccer team?
I think he. Hang on.
Well, it's not a Manchester team because those are the most expensive ones.
Yeah,
I have no. Oh no, you know who it is? It's a team that just got one of the. They get to move up or whatever.
By the way, did you know, Josh, that our boy Jared and Kroenke are tight? Like really tight? Like he sits in his owner's box and stuff.
Shut up.
No.
Well, be calling that favor in someday.
Well, maybe if you went to his concerts when I got you tickets.
Oh, son, here we go. We're going to
See,
blame Tiffany on
you
this.
would have gone to the Houston concert if you knew this, wouldn't you? The rodeo. You would have
I
gone.
absolutely would have. I'm all about self-interest, so
Well,
would
you
have
blew
definitely
it.
done that. Damn it. Why did you have to put this out publicly? Because now everyone, like Jared's going to know that I'm only going to his next concert for completely selfish reasons, not to support him.
Oh, he doesn't. Trust me. Gabe's in our group. He knows what selfish measures are all about.
Hi, Gabe.
By the way, Gabe did text me back. He fully supports McGinnis holding out Richardson and Walker both.
Yeah, it's probably smart.
Says reduce hits on your best players. It's what they do in college football and the NFL. McGinnis is smart, my guy.
We'll see if it plays out if they win the 5A.
Well, I don't think they're going to win or lose 5A by sitting those two out in spring football.
You can certainly lose it, though, if they
You
get
can
hurt.
certainly lose it. That's exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah, there's not. Well, Richardson
Dom
has that
Richardson
history.
gone. They
I'm
ain't
gonna,
winning anything.
I'm gonna start a high school summer championship. What do search firms use? Or like
Headhunter.
yeah, but what is the ones that take all the money when you bring a company in and they like
Consultants?
yeah, consultant firm.
The consultancy.
Yeah, I'm gonna run a consultant firm. We're gonna do footwork and
And fighting.
hand fighting. Yeah, and then and planning for your summer for a high school football team.
We really could come up with the biggest scam out there. We could dominate the recruiting, parent. I don't know, like
It continues to surprise me. Like, what is the next frontier for
scamming
scamming money off of children? Basically,
I mean,
I feel like it's all been used before.
we had that thing happen, and we haven't potted since this happened. Like, I had to get on the phone with the Hartshorn superintendent and athletic director and
Trim
football
ever
coach.
write that article?
Yeah, he did.
Did I completely miss it?
Yeah, he did. But they had some guy that was pretending to be a rival's scouting director from Oklahoma, was telling one of their kids that he needed a transfer to McAllister so he could get more exposure. And like they were really mad about it. So I spent like an hour talking to him on the phone just about the recruiting process in general. Like, when you have superintendents and coaches and athletic directors that, they're all kind of lost. I can see how this stuff happens. I mean,
Yeah, but it's just stunning that people, and I say that, but it really isn't.
but
that
you like
people
literally
do this kind of stuff.
You literally will watch, and I don't care. I don't have to deal with him. But like this footwork king guy, like I brought him up. I think he was working with Devontae Lampkin a couple of years ago or something after he was trying to get back in the league or whatever. Like, like it just looks so terrible. It's like you watch it and you're like, that's not a real drill. Like, that's not. You would never see a college or NFL team doing drills like this. I mean, it looks ridiculous.
He's with Guebu and Sermon.
Yeah, he's working with Trey Sermon. I saw that. That was weird.
He started that last year.
And it's like, it's almost, and I think it's always been this way, but it's like the college coaches are afraid to tell kids, even their own players, like, don't do that. I mean, but I guess as long as they're not doing something that's going to, I mean, when somebody blows out a knee working with one of these guys, then that'll put an end to that stuff.
I tweeted about it yesterday. Like, I don't understand. I do understand high school kids. Like, they've never been in a college program. They don't know. They don't understand the difference. Like, because in a lot of cases, these guys are working with high school coaches that, may be very knowledgeable and may just kind of be, guy that happens to be a science teacher that played football in high school. So, whatever.
Although Starlin Baldwin's out there working with an Alabama guy, so.
Yeah. In college, you've worked with guys that are, especially if you're at, like Trey Sermon, you're at a place like Oklahoma, you've worked with elite coaches. What about what you're doing looks anything like what you're doing with this training?
Yeah.
Like, how does that not ring a bell? Like, maybe this is a waste of my time. Maybe this is, any work, I guess, can be good work, but I guess at least it's better than just eating, Funyuns on the couch or something. But I feel like you could get more out of your time.
Look, it's all marketing, too, on the part of these trainers. Like, why is it that George Whitfield nobody ever hears from him anymore? It's because what he does, everybody else can do. It's like there's no guru. There's no one reinventing how to train. I mean, they're just not. Like, George Whitfield was calling our radio station trying to get an interview because he was working some camp in Oklahoma City.
Anybody SARS fallen more than George Whitfield over the last 5 years?
I had
In
to
the
look it
football
up.
world?
I had to look it up. He did work with Josh Allen, but that's the last big name he's worked with. I mean, and before that, it was like Jameis Winston was like the last big quarterback he worked with, and Johnny Manziel.
I think that some of these guys do certainly help, but I think that it's just funny. It's like you see people out there that are working with an all-pro safety or like an all-rookie safety, and it's like, I think he did pretty well. He's in a certain situation because he's just an extremely talented person.
Yeah, there's people like Adrian Peterson that didn't need a trainer. I mean,
is there anybody out there that are taking
You're taking credit for it.
taking credit for him, or like Joe Mixon? That's pretty God given.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he hasn't. Obviously, all those guys that get to that level have worked their ass off to get to where they are.
But Joe had trainers. I mean, he had people he talked about. Well,
yeah, it's just funny to see or whoever working with somebody, and it's like, oh yeah, he's refining his skills. Sure, I'm sure he is, but it also helps that he has a God-given talent that other people don't have.
Is what they're doing any different than me as a kid growing up playing wiffle ball or something? I mean, like you're out there doing stuff. Is that that's better than not doing anything? I just don't know. If you're good, you're good, and if you're going to be a Division I football player, you're going to be a Division I football player. And you're not going to go from being undrafted to being a first round pick by working with a trainer.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Because, like you said earlier with George Whitfield, Kerry, if George Whitfield was that revolutionary at the quarterback position, he'd be coaching college or NFL quarterbacks, not training them for pennies on the dollar to what a NFL or college assistant makes.
Yeah. It was fun watching him swing brooms at Landry Jones, though.
Same for any of these guys. I mean, if they were really doing something innovative,
yep,
wouldn't they have already been picked up by whoever?
Yeah, a pro team would have picked him up,
or pro teams would be picking him up and saying, "Hey, you made this guy
run
what's
crazy?
A 4.41."
It was more impressive for Zach Robinson to be working for Pro Football Focus than it was to be a quarterback trainer, because Sean McVay hired him.
Yeah,
from Pro Football Focus.
Listen, it's kind of like the sexy thing to do in the league right now. Is it's almost like the Daniel Jeremiah's name was floated around for a GM job.
Yeah,
because of Mike Mayock, literally.
Yeah,
that's the reason.
Well, yeah, you didn't even start with Mike Mayock. He became a general manager basically from being a TV analyst.
Right.
Well, and I love Mayock, but I'm not sure how that draft was a great thing for Daniel Jeremiah's hopes of becoming a GM.
Well, you just got to take the best player available from the teams that played in the national championship. Is Mike Mayock's draft policy.
Or, you could, at number 4, you could take Clemson's third best defensive lineman. I mean, you could go that way with it if you wanted to.
Oklahoma really needs the Ravens or the Browns to win a championship right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad for their brand.
Because, those are the two people that are just yeah, we love Oklahoma kids.
Especially if McCoy goes with Baltimore.
And to me, that is so dangerous as
Looks
a GM.
Like it's down to Baltimore or Cleveland. One of the two. He's going to take a night to figure it out.
That is crazy.
We send in U2. He needs to do an announcement, have the hats out and everything.
Now that
I'll
we could
contact
break.
Dad.
We need Josh to.
I'll contact Dad.
Yeah, we need Josh to get with GK. GK loves Josh, man. It's a bromance.
We still talk from time. I mean, not as much as we did once upon a time, but definitely still talk.
He was so upset when Gerald came to Pro Day a couple years ago and you weren't there. He was literally upset.
See, and this is the difference between me and some of these trainers. His dad, to this day, will try to tell me that Gerald wouldn't be where he is without you. Yeah, shit, yeah, he would.
Yeah, he would.
Shit, yes, he would.
I've heard him say that. Yeah.
And I'm like, he's 6'5" and an incredible athlete. Gerald could have done anything.
Good job, Josh.
And needed no help for. Yeah, I mean, he's like, you found him when no one else did. I'm like, well, then they're all stupid. It's not. This is not rocket science. I remember being with Kerry. I'm like, who the hell is that kid? And his dad tells me, I really wish there was a video of my face when his dad's like, he's a sophomore. My face, I probably had a grin from ear to ear knowing I was going to get to cover this kid for the next 3 years because I thought he was a Big 12 guy if he was a senior. But when you tell me he's a sophomore, I'm like, well, this dude's going to be everything.
There was one thing I talked to Lincoln about that I wanted to play before we get out of here, because it's kind of been a theme of our podcast lately, especially during the offseason, which is Oklahoma's reputation with defensive recruits. And I thought Lincoln was very candid in terms of, just basically not sugarcoating things and being pretty honest with how those efforts are going.
I mean, I just think if you prove it in the long run, then things are going to shake out. I mean, it was frustrating 4 years ago when we came in here offensively, despite the track record that a lot of us had that, that we couldn't get in the door with some of the elite guys, and that drove me crazy. But at the same time, you understand that you do have to go prove it, and so. And that was shifted, and so I feel like we'll do the same thing defensively. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about, is for people to see, how we feel like we're getting ready to play, and where we think that's headed. So I think if you do things the right way and you put the results out there, that stuff takes care of itself.
Well, I mean, like last year when you went through the transition, you kind of spearhead. You won over some defensive recruits, some big time defensive recruits. Is that? You feel like that's kind of still your role until you are kind of, as you say, proving it more?
I think it's always a fight, but I think you'll be, nothing speaks to recruits like results do. And you can go promise them this and that, but you're either winning championships, you're not. You're either playing well or you're not, and people see that, and so no, I think it's all of our role right now. Guys have got to believe in where we're headed, and I think a lot of them made strong statements by coming to us last year, even when we didn't even have a defensive coordinator in place in that time. And I think that's just going to be the start of it.
And I think we've hashed it out a lot. How they're doing it. It's not like things have changed that much, but and we've talked about they're just going to have to evaluate really well right now. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting for him to say you just got to go out and prove it, which kind of goes along with everything else he said, which is we've got to play good defense immediately. We don't have time to waste for Alex Grinch to get his quote guys in quote in here.
Yeah, and that's kind of a segue to a future story I'm looking to do, is that when Lincoln Riley took over, that offensive class for 2016, his first class, that didn't really pan out, and it might not be immediate with this defense.
But in the Dahu Green.
But it's when 2015 season, when they reached college football playoff, that spearheaded the Sooner Squad 17 and CeeDee Lamb and Rambo and Sermon and Kennedy Brooks. It's going to take a while, but it's going to be tough for those OU fans to be patient when it comes to this defense and the way that they played.
That is, I mean, I'd kind of forgotten, him talking about being frustrated with not being able to recruit as well when he first got here. Like you forget that
Adrian Hardy.
Yeah,
I mean, they're 2016 class. I don't know. I mean, it just kind of it was his first full class, not that first month.
Of course, you're also coming off an 8-4 season, so it's just kind of ugly.
Well, that's when you're off the 2015 season where you're making the college football playoff, but by that time, recruiting for 2016 class is just about done. You're talking about Zach Farrar, Adrian Hardy, Adams, Kendall. Even those guys were all right at OU, but they ended up transferring. It's going to take a while. Even if you just bring in a nice name, it's not going to be overnight where it all clicks together.
And we talked about this before, but what a huge get it was for them to get Marquise Brown. I mean, just it essentially, they had a great quarterback, but essentially set up, success for 2 years that they might not have had otherwise.
It would have been Jalen Rager. That's what's so weird.
Yeah.
Is if Rager doesn't leave, they don't look at Brown, but Rager leaves.
There's a lot of those little. If this doesn't happen, how does this happen over the last? Even maybe the entirety of Lincoln Riley's career in Norman, even going back to offensive coordinator, if they don't have.
But Baker being number one, I mean,
if they don't hit on a couple transfer quarterbacks, or if they don't hit on, at times if they don't get Dede into the program, what happens in 2016, 2017? It's kind of a fascinating what if, and you can fill in whatever blank on whatever's happened over the last 3, 4 years, 5 years.
Guys, for people, it's really good we're having this conversation. So you look at that 2016 class, didn't go as well as Oklahoma would have hoped. I mean, obviously Ben Powers, that was the home run of that offensive group in 2016. 2017, again, for people to be like, okay, let's see what happens in this 2020 class, but 2021 is what we need to be. That's when you can really start keeping score, in my opinion. Adrian Ely, Marquise Brown, Kennedy Brooks, Creed Humphrey, Marquise Hayes, Jeremiah Hall, Trey Sermon, Grant Calcaterra, Charleston Rambo, Marcellus Sutton, Tyrese Robinson, and the ever-present Chris Robinson. So other than quarterback and Marcellus Sutton, I mean, you're talking about...
I literally just heard cop cars when you said Chris Robinson's name. Was that just my headphones or anybody else's?
I think it was your headphones.
It's weird.
But I mean, almost every one of those guys was either, in Marquise Brown's case, a now first-round draft pick, or is a very likely starter this season for that offense.
Yeah. Well, it's been something, and going back to what Riley just said, was the fact that it's kind of what we've said here over the podcast for the last at least 5 months, just as far as you have to have, you can only do so much and tell people a vision. And sure, it's probably easier to sell it at Oklahoma, but they need some type of evidence out there that Oklahoma can play defense. And, frankly, for a lot of these kids that are getting recruited right now in high school, can they even remember? Like, we're getting to the point of high school kids, when they got recruited by Josh Heupel, they're like, oh, you played? It's kind of like that for the defensive guys. It's like, oh, they played defense at Oklahoma? I didn't ever really know that.
It's almost, I feel like we're having a budget meeting here. I think I know the answer to this question, but like, Josh, if you went and scanned Oklahoma's defensive recruiting classes over the last 6 years, I doubt you would find one class you could consider foundational, like that 5 to 8 players became really good players on a team.
Yeah, you won't find a group like that offensive 2017 group I just listed.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. Now, are there guys that like, okay, this class has 4 or 5 starters? Sure. But are they guys that are not just players, but like difference makers, starters, guys that are, Marquise Brown? Hell no. Guys, we just talked about Gerald McCoy. OU's last defensive first-round pick is entering the latter stages of his career.
Yeah, no shit, right? That should put it in perspective.
That's crazy.
Well,
you got something against Jordan Evans?
No, but I don't think anybody's confusing Jordan Evans with Gerald McCoy. The other thing is, when was the last time Oklahoma put just a straight-up defensive back in the
Tony Jefferson?
Undrafted.
He didn't get
Undrafted, yeah. But he's in the league.
That's what I meant. Drafted.
It
legitimately
Colvin,
might be
Did you say Colvin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I guess Colvin would definitely be in there.
And he's had a nice career. I mean,
yeah, sure. He just got a massive contract. But
Yep.
At a school like Oklahoma, it's probably surprising that it's been so long. It's kind of like the thing down at Texas right now, as far as wasn't until this past year. Hadn't it been like a decade since they had an offensive lineman drafted? Just insane at a school like Oklahoma or Texas.
Well, I mean, think about
when the guy that got. Oh, no. Never mind.
I was gonna say, think about when Bob first took over, he recruited guys like Derek Strait. He had Andre Woolfolk. I mean, it was like he had badasses,
the riches
in the secondary. He had Roy Williams already there.
Hell, Michael Thompson would have been a first-round pick if he wouldn't have gotten it. They wouldn't have that terrible car.
Oh man,
I mean, he was special.
Hell, he even made white guys good. Matt McCoy.
Well, let's not go too far.
Predajinx.
Dare.
Predajinx. You know that questionnaire thing that I don't know about a questionnaire, but the thing that's going around on Twitter. Jim Weber tweeted it. Josh, I think you responded to it.
Oh, the random.
With Sloan Thomas. Matt McCoy was definitely one of mine.
I tried to go outside of Oklahoma, and like
It's
it
just
was funny
hard.
because guys that I kept coming up with, and I know one that I throw out because I think we've talked about him in the pod before, Kerry. Eric Van from Kansas came into my mind for that
Yeah.
damn touchdown run he had
Yeah.
forever ago against Oklahoma.
99 yards.
Yep.
Had to
But,
work
yeah,
at
I mean-
service merchandise that day.
Oh wow. But Eddie, are you aware service merchandise is a thing, or was?
I
We've had
remember
this
it.
discussion before.
I remember it. I remember service merchandise and
It was a good college job. It was.
God, what was that other place called? Montgomery
Ward. Yeah.
I remember that place too. Is that the same place? No, that's not the same place. That's two different places, right?
I mean,
Yes, two
essentially,
different places.
but-
Yeah.
But they same idea.
Woolworth.
Same. They sold the same thing, right?
I mean, one was a catalog store.
I've just left.
Yeah, Bob's just leaving and talking on his phone.
All right.
See you, Bob.
See you, Bob.
It's good.
I think he
catching up,
has
buddy.
radio hit at 1:15 usually.
What a jerk.
And I was going to ask him about basketball, so I guess we're not going to. But I think that what he would say is, OU probably getting close to a hire for their assistant job. That they already filled the Kevin Kruger slot, and now they
With
have
the
Chris,
Nebraska coach.
Yeah, they have the Chris Crutchfield slot that's open, and I think there's.
They've been, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Crutch, great coach.
Yeah, it was surprising that it was shocking.
I'm
to
sure
me
he got
that
offered a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think that it also came at a perfect opportunity too, as far as his youngest son just graduated from
Yeah.
Norman North. His
Yeah.
other son is in college already at Stetson, I believe, playing basketball. So probably just a time for them to be able to relocate. And
But the one thing I was going to say, really, Lon hasn't replaced. I'm just assuming Henson. Not that he was a jerk, but Henson was kind of his bad cop,
yeah,
and he never really
he
replaced it.
definitely
I think
was.
like Crutch and his other guys, and his son, they were good cops.
yeah, they needed a guy that will.
They can scare the shit out of
Yeah,
kids.
they need a motherfucker. They need a guy that will get in somebody,
Yeah.
And they really it has been very apparent since him and Lou Hill left, because Lou Hill I think he was the good cop to.
And I think
Henson,
somebody,
bad cop.
I don't know if Lon kind of figured it out, but somebody did, because I mean, this last year, it looked like that team that was going to fade down the stretch, and they actually turned it around.
Yeah,
And played well down the stretch.
yeah, I don't know. I think we all kind of knew where that thing was headed.
Now, did you leave Bricktown knowing that it was done, over for OU?
Yeah, like when they had lost 8 of 11. You lose 2 games in the
Ugh.
conference tournament by a combined score 23-5.
Give up a 15-run inning or 14?
It was only 14. If you take the 14 inning run game out, or the 14 inning game out of the picture, they probably win the game. No, they were cooked. Their RPI just wasn't good enough. They beat up on a bunch of bad teams, and they lost a bunch of games late in innings. And when you have trouble manufacturing runs, you're going to get beat. I mean, it's baseball, kind of a simple game when you boil everything down, and they weren't very good at some of the spots that you need to be. But Bobby Witt Jr. won just about every national award that you can have. Sounds like he's probably going to maybe be headed to your Royals with the number 2 pick in
I'll take that.
next Monday's draft. So he is so good. He's unbelievable.
Wait, we're not sure. I mean, we're just reporting that he's going to go. I mean, we're not considering that he might just stay in college for, half tuition.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think that I think his father would have some words
Bob
of
Senior,
advice
yeah.
that could give him hell. I think Skip would even tell him, "What are you doing? We're not allowing you to come here." But they do have a top 15 class coming in. So
Now, if he's 2, who's 1?
supposedly it's the catcher from Oregon.
Okay.
I forget what his name is. He's
From Oregon State?
yeah.
Okay.
He's been unbelievable. It's starts with an JTR. God, I forget what it is.
Riel Muto? Is that the name?
No, but he is a badass. JT Realmuto.
Who is JT Riel Muto?
Who is he?
Yeah.
Philadelphia Phillies.
The
catcher.
catcher for the
Oh, okay.
Phillies.
Okay.
From Carl Albert.
I mean, I knew.
I think.
Yeah.
I put it out there last week. I think he could end up being. I mean, obviously Mickey Mantle and Johnny Bench are probably number 1 and number 2 in Oklahoma, but
Yeah, I doubt
he might
AJ
end
Hinch
up-
is going to be like, what about me?
he might end up being the number 3 to ever come out of Oklahoma. I think he's going to be an All-Star this year.
Wow.
He's having.
I just haven't paid that much attention.
He is a certified badass.
Adley Rush.
That's
Rushman,
it. Yep,
something
that's
like
it.
that from Oregon State.
Adley Rushman, yeah. The Big 12, I mean, actually, I think they have Josh Young going in the first round, Nick Lodolo going in the first round. That's 2. Alex Manoah, that's 3 picks inside the top 11 from the Big 12. And 4, I guess you want to technically count Bobby Witt. And then there's one other kid. Oh, Shane Langoliers from Baylor is going in. They have him going in the first round. And then there's a Brett Batty, who's I believe signed with Texas from Lake Travis High School. They have him going in the first round. There's a bunch of talent going in the first round far as Big 12 connections.
I think it's going to be real interesting because I think that we're headed toward, I don't want to say a meltdown, but maybe a reality check. I mean, we've talked about all this stuff with donor issues, but like if OU wins a national championship and OU just can't immediately announce, like the groundbreaking on a new stadium, people are going to be like, what the is going on?
On softball? Or?
Yeah, on softball.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the situation, though. Like, there shouldn't be any type of confusion. It's like, if you want a stadium, write a goddamn check.
Well,
like,
I think everybody knows that, but my question is like, what's the holdup with the donors? Like,
yeah. Well, I think it's just, we've talked about it before. It kind of goes into the same idea of why Oklahoma is having such a, I don't know if it's a problem. I don't know if saying it's a problem is the right way to say it, but like, there's just not a whole lot of extra money in families right now that people are just like, let's throw a couple million at these people. I mean, obviously, like I don't know the inner workings of the super wealthy families in Oklahoma, but I just don't know any that are just throwing money away to be throwing it away. And I know that's not technically throwing it away, but aren't there? And now we're really out of my league.
And all
but
that stuff,
there's new tax provisions or laws that you can't write this stuff off, right?
Right.
So I could see why it's now.
But I mean, you hear about Auburn's doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, other places are doing stuff. I mean, Oklahoma State. I mean, people look down the road. Oklahoma State's building a new baseball facility.
Yeah, but that is, I think the OSU baseball thing is such a different animal in that, I mean, Josh Holliday and the Holliday family worked for that thing for literally 35 years, didn't they? Basically trying to get something.
Everybody has, yeah. I mean, Gary Ward worked.
Yeah, like anybody associated with the Oklahoma State baseball program worked their ass off to raise money, and they finally were able to do it and probably went over the top a little bit. I think they'd be the first ones to tell you that. Like, you don't need a college baseball stadium that is that nice.
But we're talking about $30 million for the softball.
Sure.
With softball, I mean, does there become a point when you start risking Patty Gasso?
No, not this late in her career. I don't think.
She is. Okay. They've already made a really strong statement. She is by far the highest paid college softball coach.
Not only that, but you have her sons working here at OU. I mean, and I think that you see that a lot in a lot of softball programs as far as families being involved. But I just no, I don't think that she's going anywhere. But I do know that. I think that would kind of be her lasting legacy is, and I don't think she's going anywhere. Don't get me wrong, but I think that if she was able to build a stadium, that would be kind of her, I think, bow on her career as far as she's built a dynasty. Yeah. That's kind of like the lasting impression that she could leave on a university.
Well, the other thing that it just kind of sets off an alarm about is like if they're going to have that much trouble raising $30 million to build softball. How are they ever going to renovate baseball? Like, how is the baseball program gonna?
It's individual. Like
better?
They just got I forget what the number was. It was announced that I don't even know if they ever announced it, but I think that it was a pretty sizable donation from a alumni that I think worked in the.
I think they're trying to raise $20 million for those renovations.
They're supposed to start on that stuff here. I don't
bet
want to say
they have
soon,
less trouble with it than softball does, Kerry.
Well, they do, and I think it just comes down to a former baseball player. He's going to want to, if he's made millions in the oil field, he's going to want to give it to the baseball.
And I'd be
program.
that way too.
Yeah, You want to support the program that you were a part
I
of.
might buy a scoreboard for Coffeyville or something if I won the lottery.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I would. I just want to make sure the press box is in the middle of the 50-yard line.
Not
on like the 30.
Yeah.
Carrie would just start buying insane camera equipment. We look like News 4 rolling out there.
Oh, we already got better equipment than News 4.
Oh well.
I wouldn't say that.
Sorry, Nate.
Who I know listens to the pod.
Nah, that's the only reason I said it. But just to put a bow on this, the Pooh Williamson guy is certainly, when Bob presents his credentials or resume, it would make sense as far as the Bryce Thompson connection. That's a guy going into next year. If you were able to get him, I mean, the way that the guys that follow the AAU circuit much closer than I do, the way that they talked about Bryce Thompson spring, we're going to have to make some trips to Tulsa here over the next year.
And apparently
just to be
he
able
is
to see him.
favorable towards Pooh Williamson.
Yeah, I think there's already a
family
built-in,
relationship.
Yeah. And
Like he
Pooh
worked for
Williamson has connections back into Oklahoma. I think he's an Oklahoman,
Yeah.
so that would be certainly
didn't
very
Pooh-
interesting.
Pooh played at Tulsa, didn't he?
I believe so.
He
I believe that's
played.
right.
He played on those teams that Bill Self took to the. I don't know if took to the Final Four, but I want to say 91 through 95 or something
And
like
he's
that.
coached in the Big 12. He's coached at Tech, so that would make sense.
Oh, there's a town you don't hear enough from in Oklahoma. He is an Okmulgee native.
By the way, Texas Tech is kind of what they're doing right now is scary. In basketball, they're like getting all these
just
transfers,
like stockpiling everybody. Chris Beard knows what he's doing. That kind of went largely, like, not that it didn't make national waves because it did, but it was like everybody I think nationally was just like, oh, he's leaving. He's leaving Tech as soon as he can.
Yeah,
and to get him to sign that extension, I mean, Texas would have to really pony up some money. I feel like I think it like over $10 million buyout.
Texas Tech is kind of one of those schools that's never really known what to do with their basketball program.
I don't know if they've known what to do with their athletic program. Like they're going through one of the probably the greatest runs in Texas Tech history. They haven't had the football success, but they just won a couple track.
Tadlock's been a great hire.
Tadlock's been amazing. Another Big 12 regular season title. They're hosting a super regional. The Tech track teams just won Big 12 titles or national titles, one of the two. I guess that's it. And then basketball, obviously, with the Final Four run.
I'm not buying in on their football.
I think Matt Wells. How good is Texas Tech football? I mean, I think a 9-3 or 10-2. Lincoln Riley, more than welcome to come join us for this discussion anytime on the unofficial 40. By the way, but I mean, I don't think anybody's ever expected him to make a college football playoff run, right? Nobody realistically. Maybe once every 6 years, you go 11-1 with an outside chance to win the Big 12. Is that the limit for Tech?
To me, it's not about wins or losses. I just don't know how they're going to survive in this league playing the type of football that Matt Wells is going to play. To me, it's a like what's his name at Baylor? Why can't I remember his name?
Rule?
Matt Rule. Like, you remember he came in and he was like, yeah, we're going to run the same type of football we did at Temple. And I give him a ton of credit. He was smart enough to realize we can't do that in this league.
Yeah.
And he went wide open, threw it all over the place.
Well, it certainly helps. I mean,
and they haven't been great, but they've survived. I mean, he hadn't gotten his head kicked in. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State last year.
I think we all agree, though. Charlie Brewer's pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, I like him.
I think Alan Bowman's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Matt Rule's done a hell of a job. Like,
no, I do too. But I'm saying
for them to be where they are is
but
amazing.
Matt Rule adjusted.
Yeah,
and
right.
I don't know if Matt Wells is going to adjust to what the type of play that's going to be needed to win in this conference.
Yeah, it's not Utah State anymore, that's for sure. If things don't work out, he could always probably get a job at Mount Vernon High School.
Maybe as a superintendent.
Yeah, if he wants. I mean, shit. Don't have to really have too many high accolades.
They say you don't want to replace the legend. You get to replace the guy that hired Art Briles. I mean, that's Cush.
Man.
You could probably have a relationship with a student and still get by scot-free.
Oh my God.
A senior that has experienced her 18th birthday.
Yeah, it'd be the last guy did hire Art Briles.
Can you imagine if Mount Vernon is the next teacher scandal.
Oh God,
Teacher sex scandal.
It's like he just infected.
It's like Art Briles put those women in there to recruit
He had
the
them
kids.
sexing each other.
I don't even have anything for that. I mean, anything that happens at Mount Vernon High School is not out of this question. Not off the table.
Yeah, this is kind of like you guys talked about earlier. Nothing's going to shock me here. I'm ready for it all. Okay. I just found Art Briles' first hire, Zach Smith.
I put that out on Twitter today. I thought it was going to get
Did you?
more.
No
love.
way.
Yeah,
Zach Smith from Ohio State.
he should.
Hired?
I mean,
Oh,
no, he should.
No, just be his OC.
I see what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
if we're going to commit to this shit, let's commit to it. One can teach them, the lack of values of, just sexual relations, and the other one can just teach them lack of values with children, with their wives.
hire-
I mean, everything's good.
He could hire Jay Paterno as his SID or something.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it would
You
have
assault
to be
him, you sexually assault him, then you beat him, and then you deny
Cover it up,
everything.
yeah.
It's the three-headed monster is what it could be called.
I mean, he would have to not be SID. He would just have to commit to it.
Just
Minister
PR.
of Propaganda.
Yeah.
Minister of Propaganda. That would be his name.
I mean, it goes without saying, the whole Sandusky thing, worst thing that's ever happened in a college football program.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Is Briles too? Is he the second worst human?
I mean,
wanna
just off the
commit
top of
to
my
it.
head, probably. I can't really. I'm just trying to think
Oh.
of scandals.
Dave Bliss would be up there.
Yeah.
with Baylor.
Oh, are we talking any sport? I thought we were just talking football.
I was thinking college football, but
Okay.
Yeah.
feel free to remind people the awfulness of the table. How many jobs did he get fired from years later just for being Dave Bliss, though?
I asked
Shit,
if Mount
didn't
Vernon was going to.
little
Bethany,
yeah,
somewhere.
a little church school over in Bethlehem.
It was at
hired
least
him not
two.
too long ago.
I think the second one he just stepped down because he was like, yeah, I don't want to put the school through this.
He started liking the players too much. I can't kill one of these kids.
You know there's no way Art Briles is going to step down for the good of Mount Vernon, though.
I mean, he might.
He's
I don't
probably
know.
from Welch, Oklahoma.
When was the last time Mount Vernon they ever produced any kids, Josh?
Not to my knowledge. I'm sure there's some kid that they all think is great that played at,
He was
West
just getting
Texas
slept
A&M or
on.
some shit.
We'll talk about it next week because I know we're running out of time here. But it isn't it funny? And I was talking to Bob about this the other day. It seems like there were so many people from the 2020 class that thought they were getting slept on as far as in-state kids, and then OU goes out and offers like half of the 2021, 2022 group.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that works? It's almost like
it's
OU or the big schools are offering kids that are worthy or deserve it.
And it's just one of those things where it doesn't matter how many times I say it, it's not just about talent. I mean, because there are good players in the state that don't have offers. Do you fit what they're doing defensively? OU is not going to deviate from that. The two guys we brought up, Marion Horn and AJ Green, are track guys that can really, really run. The guys that are upset about not having offers, they don't fit into that. That doesn't mean they can't play, but they don't fit into what OU is looking for. And I get that that's a tough pill for some kids to swallow.
Right.
But that doesn't make it untrue. That doesn't mean they hate you or they hate, Oklahoma guys or everybody's getting slept. But, I had a conversation with somebody that was like, they've only, prior to last week, I think Oklahoma had 3 offers out in state, Brendan Walker, Andrew Rame, and Gentry Williams. And somebody's like, only 3 offers? I know like 20 guys that could be difference makers at Oklahoma. No, you don't. No, you don't. There are 8, 10 that I would say maybe those guys are starters at Oklahoma someday. And that's all 3 of the current classes.
I don't understand why would somebody want to be lied to, saying that you could come to Oklahoma and fit in, and then you get there and you never play. Like that, the other side of that doesn't make sense to me.
People don't think that far ahead.
Yeah, they just want you're going to OU, or you're going to Oklahoma State,
Or I mean, sometimes it's just hard to if you're a
Be
kid,
told that you're not good enough.
it's hard to believe or let someone. I mean, everybody's about being disrespected.
Sure.
Chip on shoulder. Like,
I think that's a good thing.
yeah,
Like don't get me wrong. Like I don't hate the kids for it. I guess I wish there were people in place that not necessarily told them that they suck by any means, but just like, you got to be realistic.
Kyler's got the shorter hair now. That Arizona heat's getting to him. The NFL will cut away just to show Kyler Murray warm-ups anytime he's out there. Or ESPN will.
Hey,
what they
I
do.
know we're about to get out of here. I
Yeah.
wanted to take a minute to thank everybody that helped
Oh,
us
yeah. Unbelievable.
with the Hazelwood family and the fundraiser
Absolutely.
we did.
That was unbelievable.
Last I checked, we were over $25,000,
Wow.
which, guys, it was, 9 days ago? I was sitting there talking with you all like, why don't we try 5 and see if we can hit 5? And
Yeah,
I
the
think we hit
initial
that
thing
mark in
was,
like 2
you think we
hours.
could get to 5? And it's like, yeah, probably.
Yep. Like I said, and I know Texas fans that donated. One of the only players that I know retweeted our stuff was former UT linebacker Malik Jefferson. He tweeted it
Wow.
out trying to get people to know. So, I mean, like, this wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong. Huge effort by the Scoop guys. Huge effort from OU fans in general. But there were a lot of people that kicked in 10, 25, 30, just whatever they could. And, that family, it's not like it fixes it. It doesn't take away all that's happened to them, but it takes something off their plate. And I really was. I was touched by just how big of a groundswell that was, and really just from fans. I mean, we did a couple things on Facebook, put it out on Twitter a couple times those first few days, but mainly it was just OU fans and word of mouth.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, you see it, the Hazelwood family seeing that people cared enough and reached out enough to donate that much money. It's just like it's like a big hug. I mean, it's support from people that you don't know, that don't know you, that can let someone know, we're here for you. This is the best that we can do, but it might not be much, but just see that amount, raised. It was literally one of the most impressive things I've ever seen on the internet. I know our board, some people will call it a cesspool, and there's plenty of fighting on it and stuff like that, but it is a community that does really care about each other, and that was just unbelievable to see. Unbelievable.
Oh, it's a cesspool, but it's our cesspool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there were some guys, like, I think we all know Mazeppa is a pretty dry guy. I mean, very, very ornery, pretty much laughs at anything. That dude was, like, you could tell some of the stuff he was like, I mean, it hit him. I mean, it's I mean, I know you guys were touched by it, but man, as a parent, I can't even fathom. I don't even know what that's like. And just to see
And for those
people,
who don't know, Donnie and his wife, they had twins. They were born how early? How premature were they?
26 weeks.
At 26 weeks they were born.
Yep.
They lost one of their children,
Hudson.
and they have another that is still
Kaysen. Mm-hmm.
Kaysen. That I mean, your wife's in the medical profession. I mean,
Sure.
you probably have a lot more information kind of about what they're facing ahead of them.
Oh, I mean the boys were born at like 112 as far as weight and 1.8. I mean, they're little bitty babies. It's hard for people like myself that, just had one baby at a time. This is premature, happens with twins and triplets and all that kind of stuff. So that's to be expected, but this was still very early. I mean, these were babies were just kind of barely viable. And I mean, that family's going to spend all summer probably in NICU with just hoping those babies gain an ounce, an ounce here, an ounce there, and then just keep gaining and growing stronger and those kind of things. And I mean, it's like I said, they've lost one, and that's a pain I can't imagine. And then to be going through this daily grind of hoping Kaysen can improve and just a little bit by little bit get better and better and get stronger. I can't even imagine. I mean, that's just a mentally wearing situation. And like I said, for us to be able to help in even the smallest way, to take a small concern off of their plate. I mean, that's awesome. Like I just couldn't be more pleased with how that went.
All right, appreciate everybody out there for being a part of that. Even if you're not, I know we've had a lot of people even on our ratings and reviews that people listening that are West Virginia fans and fans of other schools just like listen because we're a bunch of idiots. So I'm sure some of you probably contributed as well. So can't thank you guys enough for that. Any last business you guys want to get to before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
I was thinking today.
If there's West Virginia fans listening, we probably should start doing some type of. And we could do this for Sparks as well, but probably some kind of written thing. I don't know. Maybe audio is probably the best if West Virginia fans are listening. They probably can't read it.
Do you think they listen on YouTube?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
We probably need to get it up on that platform, Gary, so let's go ahead and get to work on that.
I was thinking today after, the new AP style guide is out, and it's like the old people's Urban Dictionary, kind of. It tells you what's legitimate, and so they included deep fake as regular vernacular that can be used in Associated Press writing style. And I wasn't that. I mean, I'd heard a while back like people were taking Nicolas Cage and putting his face on people throughout entire movies with this technology. And I really hadn't looked at it, but I was watching YouTube videos the other day of like Bill Hader doing Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions, and this with this deep fake technology, they put Arnold's face on him, so it looks like it's Arnold talking. Like, I'm really concerned about the recruiting video industry. When people start, inserting Barry Sanders footage into modern day, running back film.
I mean, sure, do that, but until a coach comes and finds out you can't do it.
Well, I mean, how far are we going to go where we can't trust video anymore?
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
No, it probably is. I mean,
do you know what I'm talking? Have you seen any deep fake stuff?
Kind of. I know what
I know you've watched it on Pornhub, I'm sure, but
I don't know. I hope not.
It's going to ruin Eddie's whole illusion. He thought that.
Now I'm questioning my life.
Yeah.
So you're not.
He thought that
I thought you were more woke than I'd ever be. You don't know about the whole deep fake thing?
I know what you're talking about. Like, is it kind of like the same idea of like the Snapchat thing that's going around, like where
people
change their faces,
a baby or a man or a woman.
I don't know if that kind of stuff kind of scares me, to be honest. I try not to.
I just don't know where we're headed. I mean, are we going to start wars now? Like Donald Trump? Is somebody going to go show Kim Jong-un Donald Trump like pushing a button, releasing nuclear weapons?
With the people in question, I will never say. I will never say that I would be surprised. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can get a hold of it and start doing Lincoln Riley's face on people. Fake interviews.
Sure. I'm looking at what?
Are you looking this stuff up now?
No, I'm looking at these new like boxes, basically. It's like a team cooling system. The Texans have started using them. They can cool a player's body temperature, but they look like. What are these?
They look like mobile homes.
Yes.
They're always coming up with new crap.
What if Craig James invented it?
I think he's too busy preaching or something, isn't he now? Isn't he a preacher now? All right, I think we're done. I think we're good to go. It's been a long show. We made up for not having one last week, hopefully.
Over 2 hours.
So there you go. Josh, appreciate it. Bob really never did come back. He just really just left us. All right, Eddie, thank you, sir, as always. Mm-hmm. Good having you. And we'll be back again next week for another edition, I think, of the Unofficial 40. Right here from SoonerScoop.com. Again, thanks so much for donating to that Donnie Hazelwood fund. SoonerScoop.com. Go check us out. We will have T-shirts coming within the next month or two. So get ready for that. So thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week right back here on the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com.